by Roger Hargreaves. Mr. Small was very small, and probably the smallest person you've ever met in your whole life, or perhaps quite the smallest person you'd never seen in your whole life, because you never met somebody as small as Mr. Small, haven't you? He was only big as a pin. He was only small as a pin. Mr. Small lived in a small house underneath a daisy in Mr. Robertson's garden. It was a very nice home, and Mr. Small enjoyed it. Now the story begins when Mr. Small decided to get a job. He fought for it a very, very, very long time, but didn't have any idea. He didn't know yet, but we know maybe in the last of the page, almost of the last of the page, we'll find out that what Mr. Small got for his job. He fought for it a very long time, but didn't have any idea. Not one. He was thinking about it while he was having lunch. He was having a piece of pea and a crumb and a drop of lemonade. Mr. Small fought. Thinking just made him thirsty, so he had another drop of lemonade. Then he had a good idea and went to see Mr. Robertson. I know, said Mr. Small to himself. I'll go and see Mr. Robertson then. And then he did. He walked all the way to Mr. Robertson's garden. He was tired out, so he sat down on the rock. A worm just passed by and said, Mr. Small said to the worm, Good afternoon, said Mr. Small said to the worm. Good afternoon, said Walter. I thought you were out for a walk, said Walter. Go and see Mr. Robertson, said Mr. Small. Oh, said Walter the worm, and went away and went off. Well, Mr. Small knew about the worm very goodly. After he'd reached Mr. Robertson's house, he knocked at the door. Nobody heard him. He knocked again. Nobody heard him. The trouble was, if you're small as Mr. Small, you don't have a very loud knock. Mr. Small saw a bell. He climbed up those bricks, but he made a mistake looking. He climbed 4 bricks, but he made a mistake of looking down, and he fell down. Ouch! Bang! Ouch! Said Mr. Small, rubbing his head. Just then, Mr. Small saw the postman come. The postman was just about to leave after to get Mr. Robertson his letter, when there was a tiny little voice. Greetings, said the voice. The postman looked down. Greetings, the voice said again. Who are you? Said the postman. I'm Mr. Small, said Mr. Small. Well, what are you doing here? Said the postman. Could you please ring the bell for me? Of course, I will. Then Mr. Small went to Mr. Robertson's house. Mr. Robertson said, "That's strange, I heard. It must be the postman. He brought me a letter. Let me close the door right now." Just about closed. Mr. Robertson opened the door again and just closed it. Mr. Robertson thought to himself, well, this fool is not going to die. "Greetings," said a voice. "Hello," said Mr. Robertson said to Mr. Small as he looked down and saw him. "Hello," he said again. "Why are you here?" said Mr. Robertson. "About the job," said Mr. Small. "What did you say then?" "About a job," said Mr. Small. Mr. Robertson knew a lot of people with hard works. He fought for them a very long time. So he knew a lot of people and he brought them to Mr. Small, and he first went into a shops in a restaurant where Mr. Small was in the restaurant, and he had to get the mustards out of the mustard pots. He kept falling into the mustard pots. So he left that job. Mr. Robertson knew someone who works in a candy shop and arranged for Mr. Small to work there. Mr. Small kept falling into the jars and getting trapped, so he left that job. Mr. Robertson knew someone who worked in a shop and arranged for Mr. Small to work there, putting matches into match boxes. But Mr. Small kept getting trapped in the boxes. So he left that job. Mr. Robertson knew someone who worked in a farm and arranged for Mr. Small to work there, sorting the white eggs from the brown eggs. But Mr. Small kept getting trapped in the eggs, so he left that job. "What are we going to do with you?" Mr. Robertson asked Mr. Small. "Don't know," said Mr. Small in a small voice. "I got one more idea," said Mr. Robertson, and brought him there. So the following morning, Mr. Robertson arranged for Mr. Small to work there, drawing words on books. "Hello," said the man there. "Pass me that pencil, please, Mr. Small. Are you named Mr. Small?" "Yes, how do you know? Because it's small, of course." "Oh, good." And then he said, "Pass me that pencil, please." And then he did. Mr. Small did. And he said, "I'll call this story Mr. Small." "Oh, the children would love to read a book about me," said Mr. Small. "Oh, yes, they will," replied the man. "They will love it." And you did, didn't you?